All right. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome all of you that are watching in the replay. This is the Your Way workshop for what month is it again? It is May. It is Storytelling Month. And these lovely folks here have just had 4 interesting and hopefully fascinating conversations where they learned a lot about themselves and each other, and hopefully have some fun things to take away and share with all of you that are watching in the replay and couldn't be here live. If that is you, then I hope you will join us next month for our next Your Way workshop. We do this each and every month, open to all. We want you to come hang out, learn about Simple Scrapper, and learn about yourself and really how to make your hobby more personalized and have more fun and make it a little more easier and fit it into your life, especially in these crazy days. All right, who wants to be the first person to share something tonight?
I will. It's Dion.
All right, go ahead.
For the first group that I was in, we were talking about participating in Week in the Life. And I actually am participating, and I have before, but I always find that I get the photos and the documenting, but I don't do so much with it because I find the amount that I have is overwhelming. And Natalie Schmidt gave us a good idea to limit our number of photos, and that will sort of also help you limit the number of stories you're telling. So I think I'll find that more manageable if I can try and implement that.
I love that idea. That's kind of how I'm approaching Project Life this year. I can choose 7 photos from every week. And so I have to pick what are the 7 stories that I want to tell. And having that constraint is really helpful. It doesn't mean I can't somehow scrapbook those other stories, but I have to pick the top 7 for the week. So great tip, Dion and Natalie. So
she said she got it from Allie on Saturday during her prep for it.
So. Oh, cool. I'm so glad some of you were able to attend that and have fun. So just to review our questions, and what we do every time is I have a series of questions that these folks go out into small groups to discuss. We asked about, are you participating in Week in the Life? What do you struggle with when it comes to telling stories? What triggers you to tell a story? Is it your photos, the products? Is it an idea that comes from somewhere else? And how do you keep track of those stories that you want to tell? All right, what else do we want to share tonight?
This was in a group with Summer. Actually, I was in several groups with Summer, and she talked about the Adobe Spark app, which I had never heard of, and now
cool, yeah,
buy it. So I'm going to go try that out. I use the Project Life app a lot, and yeah, it'll be nice to have something different. So.
Yes, I love trying new things and see how people use them for their scrapbooking. Cool, thanks, Summer.
Summer also recommended the Word Swag app, which I'm excited to check out. So, and on the Week in the Life concept, my group, we talked about Amy had said that she likes to do like mini albums, and so she doesn't really think about like that in the Week in the Life. But then Cynthia had shared like she had these like CD album things she had made. I think a good point to take with that is like your Week in the Life does not have to look like Allie's Week in the Life or anyone else's Week in the Life. Like you can make it like it could be a 2-page spread, and that could be your Week in the Life. So
yeah,
I think ways to make it to work for your life and your style. I think there's lots of options.
I've done like a full like pocket page spread per day, and then I've also done 1 photo collage for the entire week. So from very minimal to like all out, like capture everything. Great tip.
I've been trying to like document the quarantine.
Yeah.
And so my pictures were a little more intentional. And so I'm kind of a realist, and I don't really enjoy how social media is like making quarantine look like. That's just my opinion. And so anyway, so I don't necessarily document that like in the book. I mean, I probably will say something just because that's authentic to how I journal. But I do have a personal, I use the Day One app. And so I've used that for like 5 years. And so I try to document like my feelings in that like personal journal, so that like, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to print any of those out because they're so deep and personal to me, but like any of the entries that I usually put, but some of that is important. And so I've documented a lot of those, and some of the journaling I've used and some of it I haven't. I kind of have like, you know, I pick and choose what I use, but I love the day one app has been really good. But, you know, documenting the quarantine, that just felt really important to me, because I feel like, you know, my kids are going to look back on it and there's going to be a lot of like crazy. It wasn't all perfect. None of it's perfect. No.
That's for sure.
Yes. I mean, obviously, but like, you know, social media makes you feel like there's like this norm to the quarantine and like you need to be making all these memories. And I totally think we are. I totally think we are. But at the same time, it's like important to be realistic that there really isn't, you know, necessarily all that there is. You know, there's a lot of learning to get along and, you know, not getting along. You know what I'm saying? So anyways. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I've never been with my spouse this consecutively for this long of time ever. He usually travels like a week or two a month, so.
Yes.
And doesn't work every day too, you know? It's like.
Totally. I'm having to share my office with my husband, which I'm totally like not used to.
But you brought up a good point about using day one like that. That's another example of a story trigger, that even if you're not using that journaling like for your scrapbooking, it's a good memory jogger. And as you read through it, maybe you can start to see threads of like, oh, this keeps coming up again. And then that becomes the story, even if it wasn't like a single journal entry there.
Yeah, there's a lot of times, like just in the work that I do, that I will pick bits and pieces from my journal, and like even like with social media and like kind of connecting like the mental health thing that's super important to me. I'll go back and look at some of those times that have evolved and, you know, who I am now compared to who I was then and some of the lessons that you learn. So there are, you know, the longer you journal, obviously, in that type of a personal way, the more you're able to see like the trends in your own life in what works and what doesn't. And yeah, I love that app. I've used it forever. It's a good.
That's cool. Yeah. And I think in a certain way, photography has a similar mechanism. As I was looking through 40 years of photos this weekend to make a Mother's Day slideshow, like I was able to pick out some of those threads that I hadn't noticed before. And it was almost because I wasn't looking for it is why I noticed it. It's like things just kept coming up again and again. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that. And now I have new stories because I was looking through those photos. All right, great topic so far. What else, guys?
Well, that segues into, I guess, what we talked about in terms of how we're triggered, a story comes to us. And I was talking about how I've been sorting my favorite photos into, you know, Stacy Julian's categories, and how that has sparked connections and stories that I wasn't necessarily aware of, or thought like, oh, this keeps coming up. I should do a page about this, because we're doing, you know, we were doing rock climbing before all this happened. We're not rock climbing now, but I have a lot of rock climbing photos from January and February that I should probably tell that story. And I think just looking at your photos in a different context is always helpful to spark stories.
Oh, and I love some of those challenges where like you're picking a random date or something like that, because that helps you find a story that maybe you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Alyssa. What else, guys?
I had a question or a thought when I'm talking about what's prompting people, the product. And I wonder, and maybe there are other people on here, as a digital scrapbooker, I'm not really looking over my product all that much, right? It's just not physically in front of me. I have to pull it up or what have you. And I wonder if digital scrapbookers are product driven, other than, you know, maybe you buy a new kit specifically, but I don't know. It was something I wondered about, because so many, if you're a paper scrapbooker, you're in your studio or you're going through things and something can spark from that. But for me, I don't feel like it's the same, because I'm not routinely just hanging out with my stash.
That's so interesting. Go ahead, Tara.
I'm more inspired by my photos, but I keep the kit, like overall kit pictures in the same, like in Photoshop Elements, just like a different folder than my photos. So sometimes I do browse it. It's less likely to spark like, oh, I want to tell that story. But sometimes it reminds me if I bought it, like you said, for a specific thing.
It was just a thought I had. I was like, huh, I wonder if that's a difference or if it's just really just person to person.
I think it's like with Ali Edwards' stuff, like she has a lot of story based product, and sometimes I do most stuff on my phone now, but like sometimes I can put the PNGs on some of the apps, and I feel like a lot of her stuff is like story driven. So I love word art, and so I feel like when I see some of her product, and when I used to do like creative teams and stuff, I would totally be driven by the product. I mean, because you have to make a page anyways, but yeah. I feel like the like a lot of that material would prompt that, like I would look through all of it and I would kind of be involved. And plus, like if you buy it, like you kind of want to use it, you know? So I really felt like this obligation. So I would be like more intentional on like the product that I did buy, because I mean I still buy product. So I don't know. I feel like it's kind of whatever.
Yeah, and I think that urge to use it up probably is different, because with digital, even if I use it, I haven't used it up. So I don't have that satisfaction of like finishing the products and like I did it. Like I still like sometimes I tag kits that I've used them because I want to actually use the stuff I bought, but it's probably not the same satisfaction.
I don't know. I think it is for me if I use it. I think it is for me.
My experience with digital was totally different. I never used a kit more than once. And I was on like one creative team at a time. It was never like a big thing for me. So I was buying product, but I bought product and then it was my like goal within the next week to use all the kits I just bought. And some of the stories I was telling were always directly related to whatever was released Friday night. And maybe that was just that was my early days of my scrapbooking. I don't know if I would still do it that way, but that's certainly how I did it at the time.
Interesting perspective. No, that's interesting. A whole thing I never really thought about.
I didn't have a kid then either, so I was always like trying to find stories.
I'm
either like everyday life or stuff about extended family.
I'm a paper scrapper, and I find myself more inspired by more recent products than by older products. You know, I want to scrap the newer products more than I want to scrap my stash.
Yeah,
frankly, and that may be a common thing.
I love chipboard, and so I don't care how old, and a lot of it is Ali Edwards chipboard, but I don't care how old it is, like that's what I turn towards first, and that will sometimes influence the direction of the story. I have a story like concept, but then when I find like chipboard that resonates and really helps me express that can sometimes guide the direction I go with my journaling. Like I have the facts there, but like where am I really trying to get that? What pulls out? Is it this, this heart focused one, love, whatever, or is it, this is something worth celebrating and remembering? Like which story nuance do I want to go? And I think the product will help me shape the story.
We talked a little bit about that too, like the idea of like maybe the product not sparking the story but supporting the story, or especially with like word art type pieces, like that can really kind of guide like, okay, this is going to be my title, like how am I going to like work this into my journaling, or so it's similar insights as that as well. So
oh, for sure, because I love using like word stickers as my title, and so I will I make it fit what I want because I want to use that word sticker. I mean, it's fun.
I think it prompts like some other ideas about your story. Like if you wrote your story and while you're writing it, if like you see that title, you're like, oh yeah, like this happened, or this would be a great, segue into my actual story or whatever. I like having that because it gives it almost like a different dimension to your story that maybe you hadn't thought about.
Hopefully it makes it more interesting than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
Also, this kind of ties into like storytelling struggles. So like for me, one of the things is sometimes like I have a story, like there's like multiple threads of the same story, and like how do I pick which one to follow or how to like gather them all together? And so sometimes like the products can help guide that as well. But we also talked about the fact filling memory concept about right to like I have all these ideas, like where to even start. Like that's a good starting point, is to start with the one fact, one feeling, one memory, and then either leave it as that or expand on it.
When you mentioned the products, I've certainly gotten things over the years where it's like a collection of tags. It's like 1 through 5 or something that will help me like narrow down, okay, I have these different ideas, I'm going to pick 5. Or there's like a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC. Like I will use that to frame the structure of the story. All right, any final thoughts, guys? This has been fantastic. Nothing else? Well, thank you guys. Oh, we see a kitty cat. I love it. Kitty cats are always welcome. Okay, so next month, June is Geek Month. On the calendar, it says Get Geeky because it made sense that way. And we're going to be diving into some more technical things of different topics like printing and, you know, getting started with digital if you're not comfortable with it. Backing up your photos, moving your photos from place to place, like all the more technical parts. So if that's something you want to learn more about, Simple Scrapper is your place to hang out. We're going to be kind of answering questions, streamlining processes, and really hopefully making your life easier to support your scrapbooking with all the fun ways that technology can do that these days. So I hope to see you guys next month, and thank you so much for participating. Take care and have a great week.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.